Not all grief comes with a death certificate. Some grief arrives quietly, without ritual, without permission. It can look like losing a job, losing a role, or an identity that no longer fits. It can live in the body after a miscarriage, a stillbirth, infertility, or chronic illness. And because no one sees it, you start wondering if it's even real. And it does. It counts. It's grief too. And today I want to name the kind of grief that has no funerals, no sympathy cards, and especially no permission. Grief is not only about who or what died, it's about who you were before everything changed. In this episode, I want to talk about invisible grief, the grief of identity loss, of futures that never arrived, the grief of selves that dissolved, and the ones that never were. Because when something essential inside of you dies, even if nobody else sees it, your body knows it. Welcome, everyone. I am Liz Eaglesnake. I'm a stillbirth mother, a widow, and a spiritual companion in grief. Welcome to my sacred space. This channel is a sanctuary for real grief, the kind that lives in the nervous system, in the body, in identity, and in the invisible layers of the spiritual self. Here we talk about grief, how it is actually lived, not rushed, not fixed, and certainly not explained away. If you are grieving a person, an identity, a relationship, an old version of you, you are in the right place. Some grief hides in plain sight. It doesn't announce itself and it doesn't give you language right away. It simply rearranges your entire inner world and leaves you confused. When a partner dies, we grieve their absence, but we also grieve the self that only existed in their presence. The one who was seen in a certain way, loved in a certain rhythm, held in a mirror that nobody can recreate. When my husband Nick died, I didn't just lose his body next to me, but the reflection of myself that only he could hold. This is compounded grief, grieving the beloved, but also the self that cannot survive without them. But invisible grief doesn't come through death all the time. Sometimes it arrives through awakening, through the collapse of faith, through the loss of certainty, through the simple realization that you can no longer be who you were. Mystics have called this the dark night of the soul throughout the ages. Psychologists call it identity death. The body experiences it simply as grief because something essential has ended. The truth is that society doesn't know what to do with this kind of loss. There are no rituals for the woman who lost her career, no funerals for the man who lost his God, and no acknowledgement for the self that didn't survive the fire of the becoming. And so the grief turns inwards and it becomes private, unspoken, and lonely. This kind of grief changes consciousness. Food loses flavor, colors dull, the world feels far away, like you're watching it through a thick glass. Simple tasks require enormous effort. Time stretches and collapses. Memory sharpens and fogs at the same time. But this is not pathology, this is reorganization. Is consciousness learning how to exist without what once anchored it. Because grief is not something you feel, grief is a state you pass through, a threshold. And thresholds are sacred. So, what if we honor these deaths the same way in which we honor physical ones? What if we created altars, not only for our ancestors, but for the selves that are no longer with us? What if we whispered thank you to the version of us that brought us this far? Because if you are standing in that hollow place right now, you know you are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you are becoming. So know that you are not lost. You are crossing. And this ground you're standing on is sacred. Before we close, I would like to invite you to a small practice this week. Name an identity you have shed. Light a candle in their name. Thank them and let your body know. It is safe to grieve this invisible death. If this episode gave language to something you have been carrying, you're welcome to share it with someone who is walking their own dark night of the soul. And if you feel called to be witness through the losses that have no funerals, I offer sacred companionship for these thresholds. I invite you now to our mantra. If you feel called to put your hand on your chest and close your eyes, I acknowledge all that I've lost, for that's where I needed to become who I am. With love, I am Liz Eaglesnake, and I am honored to walk with you.